Well, let's see if we can get a little action going here today. I had light go out in the ceiling, and my lighting's not too good. I can't see hardly what's on the sink. So you just bear with me and hope I get this recipe right. Went to Kroger yesterday, and they had a pretty good buy on their meat. Had a sale, and I picked up a couple pounds of ground beef, actually with ground chuck. And looked pretty lean, it looks pretty good, so I'm gonna make spaghetti today. Now this spaghetti, I haven't made spaghetti in months, so I'm hoping I get the recipe right. This is one of those recipes that's in my cookbook, and it was what was called a family secret recipe 68 years ago. Young lady and her husband just married. I was just married, and we became good friends, and we're still good friends today. And I'm going to make the secret recipe from her family. And let's see how it turns out. Now first, I have to get my ground beef into the skillet. But I have to heat up the skillet a little bit. And I'm going to chop my garlic while I'm doing that. I hope you can see what I'm doing. This is a little gadget I bought at Home Goods, and I think I bought about 4 little gadgets like that cut, chop garlic, and I'm thinking this is the one I like best. So we're going to see what happens. You have to press hard. There, we got those 2 pieces. We'll get another piece in here. And this is 2 or 3 garlic cloves. Telephone's ringing, it's just going to have to ring. Those insurance companies will have to wait. Hope you don't mind the ring. It'll quit. I think. I'm counting on it. There we go. That just about got the garlic. Now what I'm going to do, I've already prepared the things that go in the spaghetti. I've got my onions. See the onions? They're going over here in the skillet. We'll move over here in a minute. I'm going to let those get a little bit tender. I've got my carrots and my celery. Now this is 1 stalk of celery and probably 1 good sized carrot that I've cut in small pieces. See? Okay. There we go. Get these out of the way. Next is the green pepper. I don't use very much green pepper because some people don't like it. Now, stir this up a little, get it going. Once the onions start to turn translucent, you know you're ready. So, I'm going to go ahead and put my garlic in there. And I've got quite a bit of garlic here. Doesn't take this much, but that's what I'm using. I like garlic. I'm going to turn this camera around a little bit. I hope I'm doing this right. I'm new at this, you know. So, we have to see how this is going to go. I'm using a wok instead of a skillet. Skillet's not big enough. I'm not sure this wok is going to be big enough either. But we're going to give it a try and see It'll probably be pretty full by the time I get the vegetables in it. Can you see the vegetables? See, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, let's go a little bit. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. Has to do with this spaghetti. I've just been married about a year and was living in a 3-room furnished basement apartment. My husband was going to the university at night school and he was working for the railroad during the day. I had a job downtown. We didn't have much money to live on, I'm telling you. That, not before payday, my payday. We saved our pennies. We had a jar we kept all of our pennies in. And the night before payday, we were down to almost nothing to eat. And I'd take that jar of pennies over to the A&P. A&P was about 2 blocks from where we lived. And I would buy 2 or 3 slices of bologna and a loaf of bread and maybe a couple Twinkies. Because my husband had to have a lunch the next day and he had to carry his lunch with him. Now when I went to work, I had 20 cents for bus fares, about 4 miles downtown, and that 20 cents paid my bus fare to get to work. They'd pay me my paycheck, and I'd go next door to the bank and get my check cashed, and that way I'd have 20 cents to get me back home again that night. Well, his family, called and said they were coming for a visit one weekend. Now, I wasn't sure about this. They were going to be staying with my husband's sister and with us. Now, I don't know where they were planning to sleep because we just had one bed. Anyway, we'd worry about that later. So, there were 6 kids and Mom and Dad. That's 8. Then there was the sister-in-law and her husband. That's 10. Then Aunt Ruby, who lived in town, she was coming for dinner too. That's 11. And then my husband and me was 13. 13 people I was going to have to cook for, and I'd never cooked a meal like that in my life. Didn't even have enough pots and pans. Only pots and pans I had were probably 1 quart and 2 quart Revereware pans that I got for a wedding gift. Now I'm going to put this good looking ground beef, ground trust I should say, and I'm going to stir while I talk. So you just watch what I'm doing. And it's going to take a few minutes for this ground beef to turn. I'm going to let it get started. Get it mixed up with those vegetables. Yes, this is going to be a pot full, that's for sure. I may have to transfer it to a bigger pot. I hope I don't, but if I do, that's how it is. Okay. Back to my story. My kitchen had a little Formica table with 4 chairs. Had one of those little apartment-sized stoves with 4 burners. You didn't have any space in between the burners. And my sink was one of those white sinks that hangs on the wall. It had the big, deep, long sink about this long, and then there was the draining board on one end. It was also about that long. and they hung on the wall. And of course the faucets above came out of the wall. There were no cabinets or legs to the sink at all. And that's where I was working. But first, what was I going to serve them if I had to cook? I didn't have enough dishes. I got a set of Fiestaware for a wedding gift. It had 8 plates. 8 plates. There's going to be 13 of it. I'm thinking, as I remember back, that was when A&P was offering the Courier and Ives dishes as a premium. You could buy so much in groceries, and then they'd give you maybe a plate or a cereal bowl, whatever you chose in the Courier and Ives dishes, at 50 cents or $1, something like that. And so I had bought enough for using for everyday dishes. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to ruin my Fiestaware because they were considered my good dishes. Now, what was I going to cook the spaghetti in? The sauce. All I had was 2 little Revireware pans. So I went to my neighbor upstairs, and she had one of those big iron kettles. You know, it's about that big around and it's about that deep. Oh boy, that's just exactly what I needed for my spaghetti sauce. So she loaned me her kettle. But then I had to have something for the spaghetti itself. I go across the street to my sister-in-law. She has a big kettle. She lets me have the kettle. Now, to this day, I don't know what I did for enough silverware. I don't remember if we had paper plates back then or could even afford to buy paper plates. We just got by. That was it. All right. I'm a nervous wreck. That's all there is to it. I'm 20 years old and I'm getting ready to do a dinner for 13 people. I'm going to have spaghetti and a salad. Well, Aunt Ruby was there while my husband went to pick up his mother and dad and the other kids. And of course, his sister lived across the street. She could come over whenever she was ready. I'm in the kitchen stirring the sauce and checking the spaghetti, and I had to move the spaghetti kettle over to the sink to strain the water off. Now this was a big kettle. I got it over to the sink and I'm trying to hold that lid on it, and I turned the kettle around and dumped the spaghetti in the sink. I screamed. Aunt Ruby comes running. What's happened? What's happened? I said, I've dumped the spaghetti in the sink. What am I going to do? She said, is your sink clean? I said, yes. She said, scoop it back in that kettle and nobody will know the difference but you and me. And that's exactly what I did. So, then I had to have a salad. Now, I'm going to go over the salad in a few minutes after I get this going. This is browning, and I don't want it too lumpy. I've got my old potato masher. See, that's a potato masher. And I thought, to keep the meat from getting chunky, I'd use that, and it might break it up a little bit. Let's hope it does. I don't want it to mush up the vegetables too. I think that's going to do the trick. I'm going to let this cook a little bit. We got to get it turned so that some of this raw meat on top get to the bottom of the pan. I'm going to put this over the top on those plastic covers Hope it works. Yep. And let it simmer. Now, I've already got my spaghetti cooked. It's in my corningware dish. I figured out everybody knows how to do spaghetti. This is the angel hair spaghetti. I said, I don't need to tell you how to do that. You know how. Let me get the stuff out of the refrigerator for the salad. Now, this is probably not the kind of salad you would fix, but it's the kind of salad I fix. See my pecans? I got a big bag of pecans. I ordered these pecans from a man in Knoxville. They do those things that, well, shoot. Let me get my scissors. I knew something like this was going to happen. I never can open these things. So, okay, let's see if we can get the top off of here. Even the scissors won't work. That's the way it is when you're trying to do something impressive. Nothing works. Except my mouth. I can manage to keep it busy. Okay, whatever. Tear that off. And pull my pecans apart. I think he was selling pecans for the DAR. Not the DAR. There's a DAR and an SAR. Daughters of American Revolution and Sons of American Revolution. And I don't know what they were going to do with the money, but anyway, these are good looking pecans. So I'm going to use those. I look at it this way. You got all these vegetables in your spaghetti sauce. Do you need a salad that got more vegetables? I decided no. So what I do, I make a fruit salad, sort of. It's not a real fruit salad, but I gotta find me a bowl here somewhere. It's not gonna be a big salad. I'll just use this little yellow, this little green jadeite bowl. Now, turn the camera around again. Can you see where I am? Yeah, I think you can see that. I'm just going to break up some lettuce. It's not going to be a big salad because there's only going to be a couple of us eating it. And I'm just going to break the lettuce up like this. You know how you do it. Break it in there. You can use greens of any kind you want to use, but I kind of like lettuce. This is going to be a nice salad to see. I've always liked this with spaghetti sauce. It seemed the right companion for this. And I'm hoping the spaghetti sauce turns out really good. Get these pecans chopped up and chewed up. I think this is going to be just about enough lettuce right here. You can see what I've got in this little bowl. That will work just fine. Now, like I said, I like to prepare my things in advance. This is my celery that goes into the salad. These are my grapes. I cut my grapes so you get more of the flavor. I've got a few more grapes there that I need. but that won't make any difference. Let's see. Now we want some pecans. I just take them by the handful, drop them in there. Let's see, what do I do with my celery? I should have some more celery here somewhere. Don't know what I did with it. Yeah, that's the way I work. I'll put celery in later. No, I already put celery in, didn't? There it is. You just have to overlook me. Now, this will add a touch to it. Using the cream raisins. You know how hard these bags are to open, don't you? See? There you go. So I'm going to take just a light handful of cream raisins to add to this. Next thing is mayonnaise. First I gotta stir my spaghetti. Whoa. Set back there. Alright, turn my camera around again. I forget to do that. So you can see what I'm doing. I took the lid off of the wok. Got plenty of juice in there. It's looking pretty good. Everything's browning. Now we got to do a little salt and pepper. I have to do it in my hand because you can't even see if the salt's coming out. Pepper. I hope this works. That doesn't do it, you can always add pepper later. Now, I've got to open some cans here. Got one of these little tin can openers. Here we go again. I've got to open tomato paste. You doing there? Yeah, there we go. Tomato paste. It calls for 2 cans, but I only had 1. So what I'm doing is just adding a small can of tomato sauce. That'll take care of the second can of tomato paste. If I got that right. You know, they don't make these can openers for left-handed people. Somebody needs to teach them that left-handed people use can openers too. Find this small spoon so I can dig this out. Oh, I'll dig it out when I get the tomato sauce out. Tomato sauce. 1 can. Did I finish my story? Don't think I did. Anyway, the family came. I was still a nervous wreck. I served them the famous spaghetti that was Family Secret. It turned out really good. I'm telling you, it did. I don't think I've made it better since. There goes the lid to that. 1 more can. It's the diced tomatoes. like to watch me do this, don't you? One of these days I'm going to get good at it. I'm just hoping I remembered everything that goes in this recipe. It's been a long time since I've made it. But if it doesn't turn out, my son's got a dog loves spaghetti. There we go. All right. The diced tomatoes, they're going to go in next. Here we go. Woo, that looks good. Yeah, looks very good. The tomato sauce. There we go. And the tomato paste goes next. Whoa, that thick stuff. I don't work with tomato paste too much because the recipes always call for half can. And what you're going to do with the other half can in a can this size? So I just try to avoid recipes that call for tomato paste, unless it calls for the whole can. I'm also one of those that like to get every last drop out of a can or a dish. I don't like to waste. Woo! Little spatter there. Alrighty. I'm gonna see if I can get this all mixed up without dumping it out on the stove. And I'm sure you don't do things like this. Need a paper towel. Little spill over here. And one over here. Now, I'll keep stirring. Make sure this gets blended good. Yeah, we're getting it. Shouldn't have much fat in it because the packages said 90-10. Well, that's about as high and lean as you can buy in ground beef, I think. Anyway, I've never bought it that way. I always buy, if I'm making chili, I buy the 73-27 or whichever way it will. And for other thing, I buy 80-20. Because I think it's the fat that gives you the flavor. If you don't have enough fat, you're not going to have a good dish. Here we go. Now I'm going to let this cook or simmer without adding water. If I had a larger container, I would add water, and I might add water later. But right now, while it simmers, I'm going to put some spices. I've got basil, I've got Italian seasoning, and I've got Mexican chili powder. Now I'm going to put about, I got the one that's sealed. Of course I have. See if I can get this off. These things are so hard to get off. They don't stop to think about it. Old people don't have the strength they used to have. I'm always having to go across the hall to a neighbor to ask them to open a can for me. That's not a very good thing to have to do. So, This calls for, I think, we'll see how much. Oh, that's 2 teaspoons right there of Mexican chili powder. That's the only kind of chili powder I use. I'm going to put another one. Come on, don't dump out on me. There we go. Now, there's my chili powder. Then I'm going to add, I think this called for 2 teaspoons. We'll see what happens. This is basil. A little bit more. Yeah, that'll do. And Italian seasoning. Now I think you can put as much Italian seasoning as you want, and this is how I do it. And if that's not enough, I'll come back and add more. So you can see how I cook. That's the kind of way my mother always cooked too. This is looking good, it really is. I think it's going to make a really good spaghetti sauce. I don't know if most people put this carrots and the celery and the green pepper. Now actually, the recipe called for mushrooms. I am not a mushroom person. I figure I can just take a wide rubber band, dip it in some liquid butter, lick it off, and that's as good as a mushroom would be. You don't even have to swallow it. That's my opinion of mushrooms. The only thing good about them is the butter you dip them in. Wish you could see this, because it really does look pretty. Now I can't turn it so that you can see it. No, better not try that. Not a good idea. Can't figure which side's the right side. Alright, I'm going to put that lid back on there. I'm going to turn it on low, and I'm going to let it cook. Then I'm going back to my salad. Yeah, that's kind of fun turning that thing back and forth. I didn't know I could do that. Alright, it doesn't take a lot of mayonnaise. I just reach in the jar and I just get me a big dollop like that. Maybe for this one a little bit more. And I reach for the sugar and I sprinkle a little sugar. So you can see how to measure. You can do just what I did. And that's all the sugar you need. You mix that all up together and get it going. And you're really going to like the taste of the grapes and pecans and celery with your spaghetti sauce. I wish the spaghetti sauce would be finished, but it's going to have to cook a little while. But at least you got an idea of how I make spaghetti. Fortunately, my angel hair spaghetti is already ready. All I have to do is just heat it up plate by plate. Add you a nice dish of the now see, this is grapes, cran raisins, celery, pecans, and your lettuce. And it's a very good salad to go with your spaghetti. So now you know the secret recipe, just like I do, but you don't dare tell it to anybody, because you know what? I'd probably get in big trouble if you told that she handed out the secret recipe. And I'm sure my friend is probably watching this YouTube, but I won't tell people it was her. Enjoy your spaghetti.